Hey folks, this is a surprise, isn't it? Listen, I know I'm late to the party, okay? But I promise you guys, I set my clocks early, but you know I'm always late. And yes, I am proud of that reference. And today, we are indeed talking about Isekai Quartet Season 2, Episode 6, Clash Dodgeball. Before we get into the video proper though, I do want to let you guys know that if you would like to have your name shouted out in next week's Isekai Quartet video, because yes, I am going to do weekly videos for the series, halfway through, I know, but if you want to get your name shouted out in next week's Quartet video, then be sure to share this video around on the internet, and then tag me at JoJo Talks Too Much over on Twitter, and I will be sure to shout your name out in next week's video. Okay, so obviously I'm a little bit late to the party, so I'm gonna kind of quickly sum up my thoughts on the show thus far, and then we'll get into my thoughts on this week's episode. So, I didn't really talk about Isekai Quartet much during Season 1. I did cover it on Animinute, back when I was still doing Animinute videos. I covered the first episode, and then I didn't really come back to it. But I watched all of Season 1, I adored it. I especially loved the finale. I thought it was just perfect to see, the quartet actually working together. And it's funny how well this group actually gels, and I don't just mean the main four characters, the lead characters in each of the four corners of the isekai-dom. It's not just those four that work well together, it's all of their casts. The casts really do intermingle really well together, and I remember watching it for the first time thinking that Tanya's group was going to be the one that I didn't really grow close to, because I'm not the biggest Tanya fan. Not that I don't like Tanya the Evil, it's just a series that I never got as into as Konosuba or ReZero, although it took me a while to get into ReZero, or Overlord. And I guess to quickly just address my history with each of the series, I have seen the first season of Tanya the Evil. I liked it. I did think it had flaws, but I thought that overall it was interesting and a fun ride, but I genuinely think I like the cast more here than I did in their own show. As for Overlord, it is probably my third favorite of the four. I feel like Overlord definitely has some issues here and there. I'd say mostly it comes to the animation with Overlord, because story-wise, I think it's cool to follow the quote-unquote villain of a story, and he very much is he is the villain, but he is also the protagonist. So I think that's interesting. I always like when a series can flip things on its head a little bit, and I get that from Overlord. My second favorite would be ReZero, which if you've been with the channel from the get-go, you'll know that is a big surprise. I definitely was not a fan of ReZero back in the day, and I gave it several chances, and for whatever reason, it wasn't clicking with me, and I was like, this show is overrated, this show blah blah blah. And I was on the anger train for some reason, I was just so anti-ReZero. And finally, I was like, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to get past, because I kept getting stuck at the mansion arc. And so I was like, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to watch this show. I did a whole video on my thoughts on ReZero. In fact, I'll link it in the card above somewhere. And I eventually kind of got through the mansion arc. I don't remember which episode it was specifically that made me go okay, I get it now. But it was somewhere through the mansion arc, and yeah, now I'm a huge ReZero fan. I love Season 1 now. I didn't before, it took me a while, but once you get past a certain part, that's where I got really into it, and everything in the second half of ReZero I love, and Subaru is a character I really came around on big time as well. But of course, my number one favorite, no shit, it's Konosuba, and of course that cast blends perfectly well into a comedy series, because Konosuba is a comedy. It's I guess a deconstruction of the isekai genre. It's more like a parody, and it's I don't know, it just fits perfectly well. Kazuma and the gang are easily my favorites in Isekai Quartet, and I don't know, they work really well. I especially love the bond between Subaru and Kazuma, since they see each other as the same guy, or not so much the same guy, but they have a lot in common. They're both otaku, they're kind of falling into this fantasy world. The only difference is that Kazuma thinks that Subaru had it easy, and Subaru thinks that Kazuma has it easy, and I don't know, it's kind of fun. But yeah, I loved Season 1. I loved pretty much all of the four separate shows, but I was really worried when they announced Season 2, because I don't like Shield Hero very much. That's not to say that I hate it, because, I guess I kind of do. I don't like what Shield Hero became. I loved the first 4 episodes. I read the first book, And at the end of the first book, I was like, wow, this is really going to go somewhere interesting. And then I was like, you know what? I'll wait for the anime to come out. And then the anime came out, and I'm really glad I didn't buy the book because I would have been furious because the story goes into a direction that I really don't like. They totally waste Naofumi's character arc. Philo is the most annoying character I have ever seen, but Raphtalia is great, and I do think the first 4 episodes of Shield Hero were some of the best storytelling I had seen in Isekai in quite some time, so I was kind of hoping, like, maybe Isekai Quartet can redeem these characters a little bit for me, and, kind of. It mostly just makes me like Raphtalia more. Naofumi can be a little bit funnier here than he gets to be in Shield Hero. I still don't like Philo, but I mean, I wasn't expecting to end up liking her by the end of Quartet. Philo's just the worst, and Naofumi sucks too. Like Naofumi starts off sympathetic in the first 4 episodes, but afterwards he just becomes a huge douche. But if you're like me and you didn't like Shield Hero, and for some reason you didn't bother to check out season 2, I don't know why that would happen, but if you didn't, the Shield Hero characters don't really play a big part anyway, so the worrying was needless. It's why I'm not, like, annoyed that it's not like Isekai quintuplets or something like that. It's still a quartet because the Shield Hero characters don't really factor in. They're in class like 2A or whatever. Like they're in the second class. They're in the show, but they're not important. So needless to say, I have been adoring season 2 quite a bit. I actually think it's as funny as season 1, which is a huge surprise, and genuinely I feel as though the Shield Hero characters only really complement the overall zaniness of the series, especially since Naofumi is so deadpan, so he kind of reacts like he's like the bored straight man character where he's like, what are you guys even doing? Like, he's like the outsider, and I think that actually works really well to his character. And yeah, I've been really enjoying season 2. So with all of that out of the way though, let's go ahead and talk about this week's episode, because yes, I will cover this week to week, talking about it episode by episode. They will be shorter videos, obviously, because it's a short series. But I mean, this video was going to be a little bit longer because I had to give a little bit of history. But that said, let's go ahead and dig into this week's episode a little bit, because we have the truest debate and the truest form of battle shown in this week's episode. And the truest debate is, what do you put on your wings? And of course, the characters would argue about this. That's the thing I love about the show, is that it's a comedy, and it's genuinely bust-a-gut funny, especially if you know, like, if you've seen each series. Like, it is so bust-a-gut funny because everyone still feels like they're within their character. It just feels like their characters, like, their personalities have just been, have been blasted out tenfold. So it's their personalities on steroids. So it leads to some of the funniest, dopiest conversations between these characters. And, like, by dopey, I mean, like, it is so, like they really do feel like they're kids. Like, the classroom setting is perfect because, like, they genuinely feel like they're children arguing over nothing. Like, this conversation of, like, what do you put on your wings? Like, of course, this would be an argument. Tanya is apparently team salt and pepper, which, like, of course, Tanya would be team salt and pepper. Ainz is team ketchup, which, I mean, like, I use ketchup for a lot of things, and I do use ketchup sometimes for chicken, but not so much wings. Like, if I have chicken nuggets and I don't have sweet and sour sauce around, then, like, maybe I'd use ketchup, but ketchup for wings I find interesting. Not sure how I totally feel. I'm not sure if I'm super on Ainz's side on that one, but Subaru and later Kazuma going for team mayo, I can understand that. Like, I'm not a big mayonnaise guy. I wouldn't put that on my wings, but I can at least respect that. The other two, I'm like, really? That seems kind of plain. I even asked some of you guys on Twitter what your favorite things to put on wings were, and some of you guys said plain, and we cannot be friends. Plain wings are gross. Like, no, you have to put something on wings. For me personally, though, the answer was quite obvious. Clearly, you use Frank's Red Hot sauce. I put that shit on everything. No, I don't. Actually, the correct answer, and I did see some of you guys say this on Twitter, so kudos to you, it's barbecue sauce. Duh. Like, to me, I'm like, why has nobody brought up barbecue sauce? That seems like the obvious answer. Okay, for perfect wings, and this is opinion time, but it's part of the show, I don't care. Perfect wings is really crispy, like, you gotta get the crispiest wings, and you just douse that shit in barbecue sauce. I mean, drown that shit in barbecue sauce to the point where you eat it, gets all over your face. That's quality wings, my friends. Either way, a huge debate breaks out, and by debate, I mean straight up argument, and Cocytus whose name I always butcher, and I feel like I'm never saying correctly, but my boy, he's on the wrong team. He doesn't side with Ainz. He was team, I believe he was Salt and Pepper, which, like, strange. I again thought he would have bare minimum been team Ketchup, but okay. But I loved it that he's just like, I'm not a traitor. I'm not betraying Ainz, but I can't, like, it was adorable. And it's again, part of the reason why I like this show, because everybody still feels like they're within character, you know? Like, it's really solid. And speaking of within character, how do you solve a debate? You use your words, right? Wrong. You play dodgeball. And again, like I was saying earlier, the charm of the series is how in character everything is. And while staying within character, they're able to have these combinations that you would never get to see otherwise. Again, Kakitas actually teaming up with Rem and Ram for this like duo team attack, where they jump like Kakitas like leans on his back, and Ram jump off his feet, launch into the air, and just like whip the dodgeball down. It is dope, and it is genuinely some of like the funnest parts of the episode, is seeing these characters like team up in different ways. Another dope team up is of course like Megumin and Ainz with the dual explosion. I think Ainz was like nuclear, I get like nuclear blast, I don't remember what he said, but it was dual explosion, and it was so dope. But of course it comes down to dodgeball, of course. And what I love is that dodgeball solves everything. Not because the game itself has a specific winner, because you can't have any one specific person win. Although in this case, when you have Megumin and Ainz team up, and it's just Tanya blocking it, I was like, nah, I would have given it to Megumin and Ainz. But I respect that they had to end it in a draw, because they don't want to make anyone look stronger than the other one. That said, like, I would have, and I'm shocked I'm going to say this, but I would have actually had Naofumi team up with Tanya to have like the big shield, like she can use her bubble shield thing, and then have Naofumi back her up with his shield. It would have made a little bit more sense to me, but nah, like Tanya's just able to block a dual explosion from Ainz and Megumin. I can't believe I get to say that out loud, by the way. Like, that's just, what a crazy world we live in where we get Isekai Quartet. With that said, though, everybody, I'm going to wrap up my thoughts on this week's episode here. I would say that this is like a solid cup of Earl Grey. Like this show really has such a firm grasp on these characters. And it feels like a step above, because you not only got the comedy that you usually get with Quartet, but you also got like some fun action bits and cool combinations. It's a cup of Earl Grey for sure. It's a step above. And yes, I'm dead serious about covering Quartet. I know that I'm super late to the party, but I will still see you guys here next week. And with that said, that is a wrap on today's video. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, then go ahead and hit that like button. Maybe even consider sharing the video around on the internet. And go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you want to stick around and see more content from me. And if you do, be sure to click on that bell icon so that you'll know immediately when a new video of mine comes out. And if you want to go above and beyond, then consider checking out our Teespring store and grabbing yourself a mug, or checking out our Patreon page, which really helps support the channel. And speaking of our Patreon page, I want to give a big thank you to those of you who support the channel over on Patreon. Andrew W., Calvin A., Crowbar of Irony, Daniel G., Digger the Fox, Emily, Ionos, Urza, Ginkotaku, Godzilla Fan, No For Nothing, Maria Teresa, Marshall B., Mirth Mouser, Cell, Shadow Creative, Stephen G., Sakochi, Tristan G., and Veridin. A huge thank you to all of you who support this channel over on Patreon, and if you too would like to join the T Squadron, then be sure to check out the link in the description to check out our Patreon page and get access to our Patreon exclusive Discord for as little as $1 a month. And with all that said, I want to once again thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have an awesome day, and if you are feeling stressed out today, then you go have yourself a warm cup of tea, and I will talk to you all again real soon.